May 29th, 2025, last week, we saw our president marking his second year in office, and there's been several conversations before that period and after the period as well, with assessing President Bola Tinubu's performance ahead of the 2027 election reveals mixed options. While some supporters believe his policies and performances warrant a re-election in 2027, while critics, on the other hand, argue that insecurity, economic hardship needs urgent attention. And this is where we are. As I love to say, well, this morning we're going to be assessing President Tinubu's re-election in 2027 and every other thing in between as well. Well, joining me right now in the studio is Mr. Emmanuel Ogbaporo. He is a legal practitioner and he joins me live this morning. Good morning and good to see you.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, so let's quickly kick start. Let me have your feel over time. How do you assess our president? 2 years gone by. Just recently, Bayo Onanuga came out to say that 2 years is not enough to criticize and analyze the dividends of our president. And I remember when it was just a year, the same thing was being said, that a year is not enough to say our president is doing well or not. And it seems to me that that is more or less like a tradition for the presidency to always say. And I remember Bayo Onanuga also did say that 10 to 14 years is what we need to give either a thumbs up or to be able to criticize our president. What's your stance on it?
I cannot say anything to be assessed with this president. I cannot place my finger on anything. It beats me whole when I hear people in 2025, just at the middle of 2025, this regime has deliberately, consciously abandoned governance, and it's now talking of re-election by 2027. At the middle of 2025, it is something you cannot hear in any part of the world save for this country. And that's why under the APC, we've seen a lot of drama. Under the rulership of former President Muhammadu Buhari, this was what we were told. Oh, give him time. He will do this. He will do the magic. And we saw the then president commissioned a private-owned refinery without a drop of fuel. A drop. No. And now we are seeing in this regime 750 kilometer coastal highway, like they nicknamed it. A president went to commission just 30 kilometers. And somebody is telling me, oh, we are now in El Dorado. The president is doing marvelously well because they are beneficiaries. What do you anticipate from the likes of Bayo Onanuga? For goodness sake. He is a beneficiary of the hardship visited on Nigeria. So he is there to defend the hardship of Nigeria and to defend the gains he gets as a beneficiary from this government. Now, looking at this, the Nigerian plight, the plight of Nigerians, and even the plight of Nigeria as a state, the president was sworn in by the Constitution, the extant Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and Section 14, subsection 2, paragraph A of that Constitution guarantees the responsibilities of government to provide welfare and security for the people of Nigeria. Yeah. Now, what can one say with respect to the welfare of Nigerians? Where there is hardship, hunger, where there is penury, where there is deliberate weaponized poverty, and even some of the persons in government will tell you that, oh, Nigerians are really suffering. Oh, let Nigerians breathe. We saw the Senate president and the catalog of members they have there who were now making mockery of Nigerians. In this regime, they will tell you that, oh, there is a synergy between the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. What type of synergy? They have deliberately, flagrantly disobeyed the principles of separation of power as encapsulated in the Constitution, Section 4, 5, and 6. They deliberately, and you begin to see all manner of drama. People who have deliberately, like I did say from the outset, deliberately abandoned governance and are talking of re-election by 2027 at the middle of 2025. And somebody will come here and applaud them. Somebody will, on the pages of the paper, will applaud them. Sure. And they will not tell you that, oh, Nigerians are not living in El Dorado. So I think we are near hell.
So you're saying the president has done nothing?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, so interestingly, we saw the presidency list out a couple of achievements at 2. Number 1, over 900,000 beneficiaries of presidential loan and grant scheme. 2, over 300,000 beneficiaries of student loan scheme. Over $10 billion FX debt cleared. I mean, we saw the IMF also cleared too. Over 440 ongoing road projects, including over 2,700 kilometers of superhighways. And also listed 70,000 naira minimum wage payment, over 13,500 terrorists eliminated. And I could go on, but let me just quickly stop here and we'll quickly take a short break. When we return, we'll critically look at all of this achievements and more. Well, ahead of the 2027 election, the re-election of our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the front burner this morning. And joining me right now in the studio is Neville Obakedo, a political analyst. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, ITV. Thank you for inviting me. Good morning, viewers and listeners at home.
Of course. So let me move back to highlighting a couple of achievements of our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at 2. So, away from the 70,000 naira minimum wage payment, we also did see the presidency come out to highlight over $50 billion in a new FDI commitment, net foreign exchange reserves up to $3.99 billion in 2023, down to $23.11 billion in 2024. Over $8 billion in new oil and gas investment unlocked, 4 new landmark tax bills, 5 new regional development commissions, over $800 million realized in processing investment in solid minerals in 2024. And just last week we saw in Lagos, Nigeria, the commissioning of the 30 kilometers out of over 700 kilometers of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway right there in Lagos. Now, moving back to the legal practitioner in the studio. So, would you still stay on your stance that the president has done nothing for the past 2 years?
He has done absolutely nothing. If the president wants me to take him serious, the president should make publication of those who are beneficiaries of the purported student loan or whatever loan they nickname it.
What about the minimum wage?
What is the value of 70,000 naira today in Nigeria? Can 70,000 naira avoid a transport of a vehicle, a transportation from Ubowo to ITV for a month? Can 70,000 naira be enough for it? You see, we talk of the value of the naira. It is even better to pay 18,000 naira when 18,000 naira can sustain an individual for a month than to pay 70,000 naira that cannot sustain an individual for a month. And the president is counting that as an achievement. How much is the salary of the president? Him that is telling Nigerians that 70,000 naira is enough for Nigerians. The National Assembly members, how much do they take? At least the other day, Senator Ojo Uzokalu told us that he received 14 million naira every month as a take-home pay. And here in Nigeria, somebody is telling Nigerians that, oh, 70,000 naira. See, it's a death warrant that these men have deliberately given to Nigerians. And that is why Nigerians should come out from that blanket of docility and ensure that we begin to ask these men questions. They told us so many things in 2012, 2013, and 2014 about the then president, Goodluck Jonathan. But today they have come to do what? They call him Nebuchadnezzar. But today they are a combination of Pharaoh, Nebuchadnezzar, and even Herod. But here are Nigerians. Nigerians are still quiet. Nigerians are still patient, watching at them. They've told us now 2 years is not enough. We saw the other day when Professor Wole Soyinka was being interviewed. He said a year is not enough to assess the president. But this was the same man who assessed Goodluck Jonathan, even within the space of 6 months. And now I saw him on television the other day. He followed the president to go and commission 13 kilometers out of 750 kilometers. What type of drama? I don't even know the name to give to this drama. And here we are. And somebody is counting all of that as an achievement. The purported tax reform, they are counting it as an achievement. We've not even seen the implementation of that tax reform. We've not been able to see how that tax reform will benefit the common man.
Okay. Now, let me move over to Mr. Obakedu. How would you evaluate President Tinubu's economic policies, the likes of the fuel subsidy removal, the exchange rate unification, and everything else? Yeah. How far has he gone?
Once again, I thank you for the opportunity that you have given to me to be here. And I want to say that the point of departure in assessing the performance of the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be based on his electoral promises to the people, because he came up with an electoral agenda that was titled Renewed Hope Agenda, which was drawn from Hope 93 of Chief Enko Abiola under the Social Democratic Party. Now, if anybody wants to assess Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the basis of his performance and the clamor for his re-election, the person must go back to that Renewed Hope Agenda document. That is the benchmark that you can use to assess his administration. And that becomes an assignment for Nigerians, especially the civil society organizations and the media, including ITV. Now, if you want to assess his administration, the parameter for assessment is that Renewed Hope Agenda versus the sectorial achievement that he has achieved. Now, when Tinubu became president, before he became president, there were three major political parties that were contending for that position. That is, three candidates that were contesting for the position. One is Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself, now the president. The next person, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and the next person, former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi. Both in Nigeria and outside, Chatham House and other places that they went to, they were talking about subsidy removal. And subsidy removal is not something that is homegrown. It was imposed. Removal of subsidy has been championed by the World Bank and the IMF. And I used to tell people and tell my students too that on the basis of my understanding of international political economy, the leadership of a country, especially developing countries, you can call them the governing class. The ruling class is the class that is from outside. In this case, British rule system, the United Nations, powerful nations like America, France, and Germany, and so on. They constitute what we call the ruling class. They now mandate the governing class of various countries to come out with the policies. So that removal of subsidy that Atiku supported, that Obi supported, that Tinubu supported, that Nigerians are not crying about now because of the removal of the subsidy. Now, how would Abubakar, if Abubakar were to be president, how would he have gone about it? If Obi were to be president, how would he have gone about it? That becomes a question. And that becomes an issue of assessment. Now, my blaming of the president, which I've said at several fora, including this television station, is that the president shot himself on the foot. Because number one, himself, Wole Soyinka, and several others, they were opposing subsidy removal of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Now, you did not now go and study why Ebele Jonathan was going for subsidy. And then, now you have become president. You said your predecessor in the office, who is also a APC member, said that he has removed subsidy. The documents he gave to you, I'm quoting the president, the documents he gave to you, he did not make provision for subsidy. And now subsidy is gone. That's why I said the president shot himself on the foot. While he was still making that his inaugural speech, filling stations across the country adjusted their prices of fuel. Till date, the thing has not been the same. Now, what I expected the president to have done is to say, okay, the president that added over to me, my predecessor in the office, said the subsidy was removed. He did not make provision for it. Now we are going to assess that situation. Even if we are going to remove subsidy, we are going to set up a committee to see how to cushion the effect of subsidy. He failed to do so. And that is what is affecting every other thing in Nigeria as we speak.
Speaking about affected, how has all of these policies impacted the average Nigerian on the street?
Okay, the president and his men, they have been talking about issue of 70,000 minimum wage. It was as a result of subsidy removal that labor unions began to negotiate with the government. That life was difficult. They should assuage the sufferings of the people, and then they should increase minimum wage. And the minimum wage is for only those who are working for government. It's not for all Nigerians. And those who are working for government, what is the percentage of the population? So you see that the subsidy removal has affected every other thing. The prices of goods and services, transportation, and what have you, production, manufacturing, everything. Now, the president, even though the president came up with the issue of CNG, gas, whatever, I think in this Benin, I don't know of other parts of those states, in this Benin, I know that there are two of such gas stations.
Yes.
So if you are following Agbo Road, you will see that part, beg your pardon, Auchi Road, you will see that part of the road have been taken over by those who are queuing for CNG. If you pass this Lagos road, you will see that part of the road has also been taken over by. The point I'm trying to make is that the president, 2 years is enough for him to even go and revisit that issue of subsidy removal and see what he can do to cushion the effect on Nigerians. But more importantly, everything that the president has done is within his renewed hope agenda.
Beautiful.
So if anybody wants to criticize the president, go back to that renewed hope agenda and take the president on any issue that he has done that was not in line with his electoral promise. Okay. If we talk about liberalization of the naira, that is another word for domestic currency displacement. That is another word for devaluation of the naira. If the president captured it in his electoral promise, and Nigeria would have known that when the president comes in, when he's elected, he will go and ensure that that policy is implemented. So the whole idea of harmonization of a foreign exchange or a foreign exchange market, as the case may be, all of them are geared towards devaluing the Nigeria currency and using it as a platform for bringing investors to Nigeria.
Right.
The question is, investors come into Nigeria in the midst of the security crisis that Nigeria is facing. The answer again is a no-no, because there's no sane businessman who will take his investment to a place that is insecurity ridden.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I love how you're asking questions and you're also answering the questions yourself. It's really beautiful to see. Now let me move over to you, Mr. Obafolo. So the issue of the re-election of the president has been on the front burner, and there are those who have questioned the timing of this conversation regarding the 2027 election. That's number one. But I would love you to react to the issue of the bridges. Do you think that we have been seeing any bridge over time? Because I know that usually when it comes to election and campaigning, we'll see INEC roll out a time schedule and timetable, would say social and show period would be for campaign. But in Abuja, for instance, we've seen different billboards, although the presidency has denied having any affiliation with it. But why are we seeing this happen now? The body INEC, what really is going on? And there are those who feel that INEC might be working with the APC as well. Could that be the reason for their silence over time?
Yes, it's clear, because if you look at it, who is the appointer of the leadership of INEC? It's obviously the president. The president does the nomination and sent to the National Assembly, particularly the one we have just now, who will just rubber stamp anything that the president brings. Because they've even made it clear to Nigerians that anything that the president sent to us will be approved, even in the middle of the night. Just like INEC read result of election at the middle of the night to Nigerians. While Nigerians are busy sleeping, the result was being read. Now, if you look at the body language of this president, is Dimiano, you would agree with me that he does not have the ideas to pilot this country to the purported renewed hope he's telling us.
Why do you say that?
Now, it does not, because you see, just like my co-panelist here, Maoga, spoke about, a president who means well for the people should be able to ask questions and provide answers to those questions. He has a team, for goodness sake. Is not just the president, the president, the president. He has a team. Well, we've seen the appointment of SAs, we've seen the appointment of SSA, we see different category of appointment. What is their portfolio? What is their function? So you will just see this government can be properly be described as a government of settlements. Oh, the boys who really helped me to ensure that I get into power, let me settle them. So that is what they are busy doing. And that's why you see that, let us not, everything is most diving in Nigeria. Let us not deceive ourselves. Nigerians are really groaning in pains. And unfortunately, they even make mockery of that. They make Nigerians to understand, oh, let Nigerians breathe. That phrase, you begin to see that this leader, the crop of leadership we have just now, don't have that skill, don't have that thoughtfulness, don't have that capacity and ability to really pilot this country to what they told us, renewed hope. We are in a state of despair, and yet somebody is telling us that it is renewed hope. I cannot comprehend, I cannot bring those two together and ensure that something good is delivered. So Nigerians really, for me, the campaign that is already on, it goes to tell you that the president has made himself an emperor. For billboards everywhere, go to Abuja, even in the north now, they are beginning to remove it. Before now, they were celebrating him because of what they thought they had in common. But now they are removing all the billboards, setting some on fire. Because you cannot, at the middle of 2025, an election will be coming up 2027, and just now everywhere the presidential billboard, you see the spate of decamping, defecting, everything, and you will just be wanting to make Nigeria a one-party state, a bicameral system of government, and they don't want anybody to ask any question. Oh, just take it as we see it. But the truth remains, and we will keep telling them the chloroquine bitter truth. This government is not ready to take Nigeria anywhere. This president is not ready to take Nigeria anywhere. This is the only president that we now have first son, we have first daughter, we have first lady. Everything first has to do with them. While Nigerians are there languishing in pains. And you begin to see, the other day they made an attempt of even going to Britain to go and tell the whole world Nigeria's achievement. Until some of us began to shout, they had a reverse. I said, no, nobody planned that. You begin to see that what we have just now here is we have a crop of leaders who have consciously and legally represented the colonial lords. Do you know that the colonial masters were even better than what we have just now? Because the pains, the agony, you see the zest at which they do anything they like, and they will tell you nothing will happen. Before you know, when you speak, one government agency will now go to court and file civil suit against you and tell you, oh, let the court interpret whether this person ought to have made such statement. And you forget that somebody in pain can say something out of pain, right, because you caused it. But we have come to see, if this president means well for Nigeria, he should forget about 2027 just now. He should see that it delivers. Nigerians will make the choice whether or not to bring him back 2027. Amazing.
Well, there are those who actually would say, in fact, the Senate president over the course of last week said that things are getting better for Nigerians. He sang a song, things are getting better. I don't know if we could have this song being played right now, but anyway, we need to go on a short break. When we return, we'll move over to look at the weaker part of this, because he recently came out to say that he is an asset to Tinubu's victory, and he is going to lead the APC campaign in Rivers State. Well, this is where we are. Join us shortly after this time out. With the issue of endorsement, we're seeing flying left, right, center, and also the conversation regarding coalition ahead of the 2027 general election. A lot of persons have questioned the timing of this conversation, considering the fact that Nigerians currently are going through a lot. And when I say a lot, regarding the cost of living, inflation, the list actually is endless. Well, joining me now in the studio is Ibrahim Momo, a political analyst, and joins me live right here in the studio this morning. Good morning and good to see you.
Good morning, Anu. It's been a while. I'm happy to be here.
Right. So I honestly want to believe you have a different view from everything the gentlemen have said so far regarding the whole issue. But let me quickly ask, considering the timing of this re-election we are seeing now, do you think it's a wrong timing or it's something that should be expected?
Okay. Two things, basically. One is, if you allow me, just to say a word or two about what I've been said earlier. The fact that I agree with Dr. Neville that whatever we are seeing with Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policies are what he front-loaded. He told us he was going to do this. Did he tell us he was going to remove subsidy? He said so in his campaigns and in his manifesto, and he did remove it. Did he tell us he was going to liberalize or remove the multiple exchange rate? Did he criticize it? He did criticize and he removed it. So did he even say, there's something else he even said that is just coming into play now. Reform of the tax policies, the tax regime in Nigeria. He said he was going to do those things, and he has done it, just that it has not taken effect. So when it comes to what he said he would do and what he's doing, what is different about it? The issue people are talking about, somehow has to do first of all with the timing of those policies, the strategy with which it's implemented. A medical doctor can choose to, when there's a laceration, he can choose to put a band-aid and maybe iodine or spirit and let the person go. He can choose to do a surgical excision without anesthesia, which is what Bola Tinubu has done. But he can choose a third option, which is to apply anesthesia to remove the pains and then do the surgery and then suturing, which I think is a better option. So, in my opinion, the policies he has implemented are what he campaigned with, and based on which we voted for him, to remove subsidy, to liberalize the foreign exchange market, so that people don't sit down at home today, buy $1 for 400 naira and sell it for 900 naira, and maybe buy $1 million for 400 million naira and sell it for 900 million, make 500 million for doing nothing. So he said he was going to do this and he has done that. Then added to that is that there is no humaneness, in my opinion, in how the president has chosen to implement those policies. If he had insisted, for example, that the local refineries were working before he removed subsidy, the idea of this very large increase in subsidy in the pump price of PMS, and then which is now gradually coming down, would not have been there. If he had done that, from something moves from 189 naira to over 1,000 naira, just by one statement, that's something that we should commend. And then if you have said you have given us minimum wage of 7,000 naira, yes, it was 30,000 naira before you came, and it's now 7,000 naira. That is about a 133% increase. But if you now compare that to two other factors, for example, the exchange rate, 30,000 naira minimum wage, what was the exchange rate at 400 naira? What was the value in dollar terms? Now that you are giving us 7,000 naira, what is the value in dollar terms? If between two, the exchange rate was around 400 naira, it is now, at the time I checked yesterday, was 1,630 naira. That's a 400% increase. But what you have given in terms of salary increase is just 103% from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira. So it means that Nigerians have lost more. The value of the purchasing power of your take-home pay has gone lower. It's not less than what it was when it was 30,000 naira. And I thought that's something that I think that the president did not do well. Then you now also have the fact that when he came in, a liter of PMS was 189 naira, and yesterday when I checked, it was around 920 naira. That's another whopping almost 500% increase.
But there are those who would say that buying fuel in Nigeria is even cheaper compared to other parts of the world.
Yeah, it is cheaper when you do the exchange rate. We should also do the exchange rate not only in the value of the cost pump price of petroleum products. You do the exchange rate, the comparative analysis when it comes to the salary minimum wage of those countries. If you compare, for example, what is the value of 30,000 naira? 1,600 naira. It's around less than $20. That's the minimum wage in Nigeria. Is that the minimum wage in those countries you are comparing with? A monthly minimum wage. So if you want to do the comparison, let us wholly do the comparison. Let us not sectionally do it. That's where I disagree with those who say that, PMS is also cheap in Nigeria. Yes, it's cheap. But the purchasing power they have abroad, in those countries you are comparatively, comparing, it's not the same thing as what we have here. So that's where, even though I know that those policies are important, there was no way about it. We could not have been, before Tinubu became president, Nigeria was spending about 97% of its revenue on debt repayment and subsidy. That's not sustainable. So it had to go, yes. But before it goes, you have to put some things in place to ensure that, you know, the effect of those policies are not that hard as it is now on Nigerian people. And so when you come to the issue of, you know, is it not too early for us to be talking re-election campaigns? You know, the average politician anywhere in the world is a politician. It's not even an administrator. It's not a public servant. It's not even interested really in policies. What they're interested in is gaining power, sustaining themselves in power, and therefore, of course, maybe getting re-elected. So it's like the moment somebody is elected and come into office, from that day one, campaigns for re-election started. And it's even worse now because there's a lot of distraction from the opposition, with all due respect to this administration. You are seeing several alignments and realignments. You are seeing governors moving. The current governor of Delta State and his godfather, Sheriff Oboriwori, and Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, they have moved to the APC. The current governor of Akwa Ibom State, Governor Umo Eno, has said openly that he is interested in moving to the APC. That he cannot be in a place where if he gets re-elected, because of one technicality, he will be removed from office. That he's thinking of moving to the but you are seeing that in that same party, some led by the Governors Forum, the PDP Governor Bala Mohammed, they are insisting on, you know, frontally confronting the president. And then you are seeing people like Atiku, the presidential candidate of the party, hobnobbing with opposition elements, former Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, former Governor Rotimi Amechi, former Governor Peter Obi. They are thinking about coalition talks. So I think all those gamut of you know, distractions have to put the president on his toes to think, okay, well, if these people already are strategizing for 2027, I shouldn't fold my hands. Right. I should be doing the same thing too. So I think that's why I think it's campaign season already, even though it's 2 years away.
Unofficially campaign season, if you ask me. But then again, you have eventually brought us to the issue of the one-party state. During the course of the celebration, the May 29th celebration, the president addressed it. There has been a fears of Nigeria becoming a one-party state. A lot of persons have reacted to it, the likes of former President Goodluck Jonathan. And shockingly, the president said he sees nothing wrong with it, trying to paraphrase what he said. And he said that when a ship is sinking, you have to leave the ship and move over to the ship that is not sinking. And apparently right now, APC is that ship. And we're seeing all of the factions and all of the movements. So far, so good. And they also said we would see more. We're going to have more defections come on board. Mr. Abakola, I want you to react to that.
For me, that statement is an unfortunate one. Because if successive government or government before that of the president, if they have acted the way he wishes now.
But do not forget, some time ago, the PDP had an opportunity where they had different states attached to the PDP. Yeah. So now the APC is having theirs as well. So it's more or less like a circle.
Yes, and that was what resulted to the coalition between the then ACN and the CPC and others. So why is the president just now afraid of the coalition? Why is he afraid? See, it is obviously clear that the president knows in his subconscious mind that he has done absolutely nothing to Nigerians with respect to governance. And that is why he's afraid. And you see this jittering manifesting in the form of decamping, defecting, movement, exodus, as they call it, whatever adjective they choose to use to qualify their attitude just now. The truth is this: Nigerians are patiently watching. If the president has done well, one, let him allow free, fair, and credible election in 2027. Nigerians will now have the choice to re-elect him or not. Three, if the president has done well, let Nigerians be the one that will speak. Why this overzealousness from the president's team, where you begin to see the likes of Bayo Onanuga and others, even my very good friend Daniel Bwala. You see the eulogizing of the president, even when he knows that the president has done absolutely no good to Nigerians. Nigerians are the convergence of these men goes to tell so much that these people are just interested in grabbing and running with. They've grabbed power and they are running away. They've deliberately lifted government above the people. The people of Nigeria are there in the drain, while government has been lifted above them. And that is why you see all this lamentation, all this mourning, all these pains that the people are talking about. The president should please, for goodness sake, come down and begin to feel what Nigerians are feeling. If the president is moving today, you see fleet of cars everywhere. They even block the road. No road user will be allowed to use it. All those attributes of military regime, we have seen it manifest under the APC. And yet these are the same persons who once upon a time told us that they were coming to liberate Nigerians from Egypt and taking Nigeria to maybe the promised land. And we have seen where they've taken us to. They've gotten to the center of the ocean and they've abandoned Nigerians there. And Nigerians are now gasping for breath to see who can survive. And I want to tell you, by 2027, I think every Nigerian deserves certificate of survivor under this rulership.
Certificate of survival, you say? Okay, so let's talk about the issue of coalition. Moving over to you, Mr. Obakedu. I saw a recent video from Nels El-Rufai, who, interestingly, some time ago, I think in 2023, right there in London, he was dancing with the president. And all of a sudden, he is now speaking against this present government. He categorically said that anybody that thinks the President Tinubu is going to win in the 2027 election should feel that it's going to be in another country and not here in Nigeria. That's what he said. And that actually really got to me. So the point is, do you think the coalition movement we've been seeing so far, the likes of Amechi, Peter Obi, and the rest, do they even have a stance in 2027?
Well, I thought I was a spectator here because before Ibrahim came, it was the Esquire that had the floor.
Right.
So after Ibrahim, I thought you were going to come to me, but that's on the latter note. When we talk about election and re-election, people need to have an understanding of the political system that is operational in their country or the country that you are talking about. And then because the nature of the politics and the culture of the politics determines the manner of participation that you will see, all this issue of decamping and the rest of them. Let me come to the issue of El-Rufai. El-Rufai has been a PDP person from 1999. Yeah. He only crossed to join APC CPC. When they were CPC, right. Then later APC, when they were about to unseat Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. So such people who can be in party A in the morning and be party A in the evening, and then in the midnight it will be in another party. You can call them political prostitute, and they are ideologically unclear. They are neither here nor there. It's only when they believe that they have lost out in the power play, they want to be aligned to align with the correct political power source. That's why you see them gravitating towards opposition and the rest of them. I don't want to dwell much on Atiku. I don't want to dwell much on Obi. They are just like grasshoppers that don't have direction. They want to create an impression that they can shake Mr. President.
But why would you say that? We saw what the obedient movement did in 2023. Don't you think they have another chance in 2027?
Okay, when you talk about obedient movement, I salute the courage of those who were behind the obedient movement. I salute Obi himself. But you know, when you want political change in your country, you don't relent. That obedient movement reminded me of the way the people of South Africa rose against apartheid. Many people died in the process. Many people lost their property and everything in the process. There were a series of massacres in Soweto and some other places in South Africa. The people of South Africa were resilient. They wanted the apartheid policy and the people behind it to crumble. And it did, apartheid crumble. Now, the people that were behind obedient movement, some of them were elected as senators. Some were elected as House of Rep members. As we speak now, we are just in the middle of their election. Where are they? Are they still in that obedient movement? The answer is no. Some of them have got to PDP. Most of them they have got to APC. Now, you need to sustain a movement. If you have a movement, like the movement that brought Fidel Castro to power in Cuba. If you need a movement, like the movement that brought Mao Zedong to power in China. Up till now, even though Mao died in 1970-something, the influence and the impact of Mao is being felt around the world. Anytime there's no house you enter in this country and in any part of the world that you will not see the imprint of Mao Zedong by the product that is coming from China. Now, those who fail to learn from history, they are condemned to repeating history. So if we are talking of another obedient movement in 2027, what happened to the obedient movement of 2023, 2024 is likely going to happen there because they are not clear ideologically. If they are clear ideologically, after the election, about 2 weeks later, they did governorship election. What happened to the obedient movement in the election? Some states, like Plateau State, some states like Delta State, were won by obedient movement. The governorship election and the state House of Assembly election that followed, where were the people of obedient movement? Where were they? They were nowhere to be found. You see, states that were won by obedient movement, that is Labour Party candidate Peter Obi, during that presidential election and National Assembly election, were won by PDP and APC respectively in the governorship election and the state House of Assembly election. That raises a question about the resilience and determination of the obedient movement. Now, a lot has been said. Like my co-discussor here is my Christian brother, is my church member. He is a lawyer, he's a legal practitioner, and by that very fact, he is a servant in the temple of justice. He is a specialist in legal matters. He can quote authorities, he can quote constitutions, statutes, and the rest of them. But when it comes to politics, he is not an expert. So sometimes he makes emotional statements. And I feel for him because
you want to react to what he
yes, he's not
okay,
a politician. A politician, on the day that he has been sworn in after election, he will be thinking of the next election if he has the opportunity. He talked about Tinubu having Mrs. First, Mr. Son First, all those things. The president, the last position that the president can occupy, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is the office of the president. Even if he did not win election in 2027. He believes that when he's leaving power, he needs to put people back in power. That is why he's bringing the son to be governor of Lagos State. And that's why he's also preparing the son to be president of Nigeria some years to come. That's why he's taking him from
hold on, allegedly, because
no, it's not allegedly. I'm telling you what is operational. I'm telling you what is operational. No, I'm not saying you should be silent. If you go to Philippines, there used to be before the man that assassinated Corazon Aquino's husband, Senator Aquino, Ferdinand Marcos. Ferdinand Marcos, the son is president of Philippines as we are talking. Yeah. Now, he prepared his children to be governors and to be senators. And even though it was mass uprising that removed him from power, he prepared them to become president after his exit.
Even George Bush.
Yes. So we should measure that in Nigeria. No, we are not saying we should replicate. I'm just saying that as a politician, that is politics. Yeah. The president is preparing himself after exit from power. The wife will be there, the son will be there, and the other children will be there. Now, it is not left for the people of Lagos State, where the son is going to be governor, to allow the president to put his son to be governor and prepare him for office of president. Okay, now, it tells something about INEC becoming. Now, what I know about election, because I've been involved in election for many years now, either as a voter or as somebody that is monitoring election. It is not INEC that determines election, the outcome of an election. It is the people. It is the people of a polling unit, because the result that used to be declared for other state House of Assembly election, governorship election, presidential election, they are a collation of all the results for polling units. Now, he votes in a unit. Let him tell the whole world what used to happen in his unit. People who say they are PDP or APC or Labour Party, it is money that will determine how they are going to vote on election day, not the party that they belong to.
Is that and the results are not there.
Whether it's poverty, no, people that is determined. I made mention of China just now, and I tried Mao Zedong led them to where they are today through the 1949 revolution. I made mention of Fidel Castro through the 1959 revolution. There are so many other places that we have had revolution. As recent as 2011, we had the Arab Spring. We had 1979 revolution in Iran. Now, the people that knows that they have weaponized poverty and that they are at the receiving end, whether despair, whether poverty, or the language I used just now. If Nigerians know that they actually despair, if they know that the government of the day, whether PDP or APC or Labour Party, is responsible for their problem, are they supposed to dance to the whims and caprices of those who weaponize poverty, and they collect money from them and vote according to the money that they are collected? The answer is no.
When the election is not free, fair, and
no, election is free and fair. Election is free and fair.
I know you
election is local. Election is local. Election takes place at the polling unit.
Okay.
And every political party is expected to provide agent in that unit.
Right.
The agent is to tell the party what happens there, because they will bring the result of the election. That will be signed by INEC, signed by the agent, and signed by the security agent. Any election where there's rigging in a polling unit, the agent is supposed to come out and say, in my polling unit, there was rigging there. You don't wait for rigging to be displayed on the internet, on Facebook, and then you take that evidence to court and say, this election was rigged. People were prevented from voting.
Okay.
The agent will go and give evidence of what happened at his polling unit.
Right, so I know
So
Mr.
the point I'm trying to make is that Nigeria cannot be a one-party state.
Okay.
If anybody say that Nigeria is going to be a one-party state, the
Okay, we
person
need
is
to
lying.
take a
If
short
we say
break now.
Nigeria
We
is
need
a,
to go on a break now.
Okay.
Right, we need to go on a break now. When we return, we'll talk about other trending conversation. Just stay. If you're just joining us, you're oriented this morning on ITV, and our conversation has been ahead of the 2027 election, if I'm to put it that way. How would you rate the presidency or the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over time? And I still have my guest sitting with me in the studio analyzing every part of the conversation. But right now, I would love to move over to Ibrahim Momo, right? So on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, we saw the Senate President come out to say so many things. He's always speaking. And one of the things he said, he was advising governors, where he said that if you want to pick somebody who would take after you, kindly don't pick those who always kneel down to you and say, yes, sir, yes, sir. Pick somebody that has the zeal to work and somebody that wants to do the bit. And a lot of Nigerians reacted to that. Is that how it ought to be? Is it a case of handpicking and putting into power, or it ought to be the people choosing who they want in power?
Well, from my background, we'll say that ideally there are two kinds of politics. There's the realist mentality and the idealist. Idealism is the idea that the process is free, it's the best candidate will win. But oftentimes there's the concept of the power of incumbency. And even because of the mass of resources and incumbents those in power have, they can sway public opinion. They can even buy public opinion. They can even, more or less corral the mass of the electorate towards a particular direction. And then they have the apparatus, state machinery, to also ensure that they can push through their preferred candidates. But I don't think the fact that about the choice of the words of the Senate President about picking somebody, that is the core message there. I think the message he was making was that if you look at the evidence before us, it has shown that every time a governor has kind of tried to pick his successor, it has almost always backfired. I can give examples after examples. In Delta, Ibori had a hand in bringing Ifeanyi Okowa after Emmanuel Oduaghan. But what happened? Okowa turned against Ibori. In Edo, Adams Oshiomhole had a hand in bringing Godwin Obaseki. Godwin Obaseki turned against Adams Oshiomhole. Even in Akwa Ibom, Godswill Akpabio had a hand in bringing Udom Emmanuel. Emmanuel turned against, the immediate past governor of Akwa Ibom State, turned against. Emmanuel Udom brought in Umo Eno, the current governor of Akwa Ibom. Umo Eno is now hobnobbing with Akpabio and has sidelined. If you go to Kaduna State, it is Nasir El-Rufai and the current governor, Ubasani. Ubasani is now, Nasir El-Rufai, literally, he was his chief of staff, yes. And then became he made him senator, and then he made him governor. I'm using the word, this concept of choosing. But today, Nasir El-Rufai is a persona non grata, even in Kaduna. It is the same thing with Rabi Musa Kwankwaso. In his first term, his deputy governor was Umar Ganduje. He lost to Ibrahim Shekara. Ibrahim Shekara spent 8 years and again won. Even when he was Minister of Defense, Ganduje was his chief of staff, was his personal assistant, you know. And then when he now came back on second term, after 8 years, he still had Umar Ganduje as his deputy governor and anointed Ganduje as his successor. Lo and behold, the moment Ganduje became governor, the rest is history. You know, at the time it was even just like they were doing Edo at the time that Adam Shomole cannot, even as national chairman of the APC, a former governor of Edo State, he couldn't come to Edo State without the governor's permission. If that was the case in Kano, Kwankwaso was not even allowed to come from Abuja to Kaduna, to Kano without permission. Just the difference is Kaduna. So the reality is that most times, every time a governor has gone to choose anoint his successor, I don't want to even mention the case of Rivers, where Siminalaye Fubara who was a civil servant, I think Accountant General of the state, was handpicked by Wike, Wike, and made governor. We saw the way, you know, in fact, Wike was complaining, I think yesterday, yes, that what the man did to him, you know, he was complaining on the media chat that he did. So, what I probably was speaking to, in my personal opinion, is the fact that governors should be careful about choosing those who dobale, who do all this genuflection and kneeling, you know, just to curry favor. Even in Ekiti State, Oyebanji, Biodun Oyebanji, the current governor of Ekiti State, was handpicked by Kayode Fayemi. But what is the situation? Kayode Fayemi is not part of that coalition because he has been sidelined, you know, and the list is endless. So I think that that is, for me, I think that was the competence. And the governors must learn that every time you think that you have the power to anoint or produce your successor against the wishes of the people, it will always, at least in 90% of the time, backfire. It's only a few times we have seen loyalty, maybe in the case of Edo, for example, now, where we can say the governor of Edo is still very loyal to those who supported his ascendancy to power. Okay. But if you remove all those ones, you have a lot, most of all the other, or maybe in Lagos, where we have had the standards of successive governor. But Fashola worked against, you know, at the time challenged Bola Tinubu's hegemony. You know, former governor, I can't remember his name now, Akinwumi Ambode, also challenged but eventually the godfather prevailed, the current president. So I think that's the message I think I gleaned from Akpabio's.
Speaking about the wishes of the people, there's this usual saying that says power belongs to the people. Has it changed, Mr. Obapolo? And I also know that the PDP trying to compensate themselves over time for the humorous defections that we've seen so far did say that in 2027 is going to be between the APC and the people. How would you react to this?
Well, power has not changed. It's unfortunate that power belongs to the people, whether it is captured in the constitution or not, because it is the people who donate their power to those who govern them. Unfortunately, when the people donate, in Nigeria, when the people now donate power to those who govern them, the people who are now in government now test that power on the people. And that is why you see government, like I did say, has been lifted above the people. So the people are now in a state of despair. And the people are not just only that, they are also confused. But we did this donation. Why is it that these people are not testing the power on us? Yes, the people want to know whether or not the efficacy of the power can really operate and function. So they test it on the people. And they test it harder on the people. Nigeria is properly described like what George Orwell in his book, Animal Farm, did describe the relationship at a point between the animals and humans. Then later on, the end part of it, when Napoleon came into power, as against the idea of snowball. So those who have ideas in Nigeria are not allowed to go to government because they don't have the financial capability or know-how on how to get there. And unfortunately, just like Pastor Tunde Bakare also described, that the style of government we have in Nigeria is a motopark brand of governance, motopark brand of government. And that is what we have, where the Agberos take it all. And unfortunately, even the lettered ones, the educated ones, will now be servants to the Agberos. who are now in government, and they begin to use them as two. And that's why you see all of this eulogizing, praising. We now have sycophants all over, because without the sycophancy, they believe that they cannot survive the motor park brand of government. So the only way for you to survive the motor park brand of government is to be a defined sycophant. And that is what we see. This government, to defend this government, you need to go through hell. Because the APC government has come to power and has grabbed power and are running away with the power, and they now do so much that the people are helpless. So now by 2027, we are going to see another round of election. I assure you that. Right. Except the people come out of this docility that they find themselves now and begin to tell the government that, look, what we want by 2027 is that we want free, fair, and credible election. Okay. But the people keep sleeping in this docility, then it will be properly be described that what the Bible says, that oh, you sluggard, go to the ant and consider her ways. I pray that we will not go to the ant and consider her ways.
Well, prayers, that's all we do in Nigeria. But let's move over quickly to Mr. Obakedu, and I'd love to get everybody's response on this. So, based on everything we've said so far, and based on President Tinubu's performance so far so good, do you think he deserves re-election in 2027?
When you talk about re-election, it is the people that elect their leaders. And the APC, they have already met, their leadership they have met, and they said they don't have any other candidate for 2027, apart from Tinubu. That is not re-election. Re-election is that Nigerians will not come outside and come and vote for their president. If Nigerians believe that Tinubu has not performed, 2027 will afford them the opportunity of electing another president. Then Tinubu will not be re-elected. If they not believe that he performed, then he will be re-elected, because APC is already having a candidate. Then it's now left for other political party. We don't know the party that will not emerge, that will not bring somebody, maybe from the coalition of Tinubu, of Atiku, of Obi, of Amechi, of Kayode, and all of them. They will not bring somebody that will compete with Tinubu. Now, I believe that Tinubu has performed, because you run the administration of a country on the basis of policies, and the policies have what we call short-term impact, medium-term impact, and long-term impact. It is true that my humble self sitting here, I'm feeling the impact, negative impact.
In the short term?
Yes, of some of the policies of Tinubu. I believe that the impact, they are just short-term impact. Medium-term and long-term impact. All Nigerians, including myself, will benefit from the policies of Tinubu, because policies are not only to be assessed on the basis of their immediate consequences. Is there other consequences that we should be looking at? So I believe that Tinubu has performed well. He should be given the opportunity in 2027 to come and complete.
Right.
Yes. That's
I'm sure the other gentlemen in the studio will want to react to this, but we need to go on a break right now, and we'll move over to get other reactions. Now, if you were given the opportunity to rate, or if you had the chance to rate the president, what's your score going to be? What's your scorecard going to be? Over time, we've seen this administration come out with different scorecard of the ministerial appointments, so far so good. But regarding the president himself, how would you rate him? And remember, the question is based on everything we've seen so far, everything that you've experienced, from May 29, 2023 up until May 29, 2025, do you think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu deserves re-election in 2027? Let me move over to the legal practitioner in the studio, because I saw how you reacted when your colleague said that he has done well, and you just gave that look. So how do you react to it? What do you think?
He has not performed, and he cannot be seen to perform.
Do you think he's coming back in 2027?
He cannot come back.
You think so?
He should not even consider of contesting. That is my mind. My position is that the president should not think of recontesting. He should just willingly go back to Lagos and remain there. After all, he's the lion of Bodilon. So he should go back to Bodilon and remain there. He should give space to other persons. We have no younger Nigerians who have the ideas, who have the skill of taking Nigeria to El Dorado. It must not be these same old horses who want to pilot the affairs of this country. So, but they have the way they do their thing. But I want to tell you, Nigerians are going to react by 2027. All this scheme of short term, middle term, long term, we cannot comprehend them. Nigerians want to see the impact of governance, because when you say, well, like my senior here was talking about the 1993 hope agenda of the then late MKO Abiola. One, you didn't consider the population of Nigerians at that time. You didn't consider the state of Nigeria, the status of Nigeria as at that time. What is the state of affairs, the economic aspect of Nigeria? That in 1993 is far 1 million times better than what we are now in 2025. And it ought not to be so. And who causes these persons, inclusive the president, Ahmed Bola Tinubu. So Ahmed Bola Tinubu should just pack his baggage and ready to go back to Lagos.
Ibrahim Momo, do you have a different view to that?
The question you ask is a topical one.
Right.
And the response cannot afford to be emotional. Which is what I think that some of the responses we have gotten might suggest. Of the cuff, emotional response. That's not how we address policy. I don't agree with the fact that he should pack his bag. This is a very topical question that has been asked. Assessment of a president's administration, his tenure, and his policies. I think that's a critical question. The question, first element of the question of my response would be, did he say he was going to do A, B, C? Did he do it? Is he a man of his words? You know, one of the challenges you have with politicians is that they tell you something for the camera, the words for the camera. When I get elected, I will move mountains from point A to, they tell all the stories. And then the moment they are elected, they start, you see, all those, mannerisms to cover for the insincerity in policy making or refusal to implement policy that you have sworn to do if you are elected. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu has one distinguishing quality. He's a man of his words. He said he was going to liberalize the foreign exchange market. Has he done it? He has. Thumbs up for him. There are pains that go with that liberalization, yes. But did he say he was going to do it? Did you hear him say it? Did he say it in the manifesto? Did he actually do it? He did it. About the removal of fuel subsidy, did he say he was going to do it? Did he do it? He's a man of his words. He did say it and he did it. If we voted for him knowing that these are the policies, you don't blame the man for implementing. What I would have blamed him for is that you told them you're going to do this and you didn't do it. So that's one. The secondly, on the issue, around assessment, I think that 2 years out of a 4-year term, it's too short a time to assess. Because if there are grand landmark policies, like the issue of fuel subsidy removal, which calculated the price of fuel PMS at a particular time, we were buying for about 1,500. Yet it has come down to below 1,000 now. It is not anywhere near it ought to be. Okay. If in 2027 we have it at maybe at 500, I'm not saying it will be there. I'm saying assuming it's there. He can have a scorecard to campaign. Yet I told you it's going to come down. This is what it was at the particular point in time when we subsidy. This is where it has come down to. If you vote for me, I assure you that it will come down much further. It's not an emotional discourse. And then the last point to make on this issue is that election or re-election of candidates for political office is the duty, obligation of citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If we do not come out to vote, let us not complain. Nigerians are very funny, with all due respect, writ large. Two things about Nigerians. We have elections. And when the elections are held, we take a decision. And then for the next 3 years, 11 months, and 29 days, we'll complain about the president or this, the governor is that, the senator is this, the House of Rep member is this. But the day you have a chance to do something about the thing you're complaining about, what the average Nigerian does is that he collects 5,000 naira, sometimes more, sometimes less, and it does a different ball game. Second point on this is that I am against vote buying. I'm a Nigerian, I hate vote buying. But assuming we want to make a logical argument for vote buying, the Nigerian who wants to sell or buy, who wants to sell votes, he should realize that the value of his vote is not 5,000 or 10,000. The man who is going for office is going for a 48-month tenure. 4 years, 48 months. And the minimum wage in Nigeria is 70,000 naira per month. if he is going to buy your vote, the minimum value of a Nigerian vote, one vote, is 3,360,000. That's how valuable our votes are. Because we don't know the value of our votes, Nigerians oftentimes cheat themselves.
So you feel we're short-changing ourselves?
By selling your vote, you are short. You're not too bad. It's not a feeling, it's a fact. I have just given the maths now. Okay. That the value of a vote is 3 million. Not the value, the minimum value. And I just come about that minimum value. If you times the minimum wage, the man is going for election, he's going for a 4 year term. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, God sparing his life, will be there for 4 years. And if he gets another election, he gets re-elected under 4 years. God sparing his life. The man who is now going to vote for him to go there for 4 years, he should also get adequate compensation. If you are, I'm against vote buying, I have to put that one out. I have written papers, I have complained, I have talked about against vote buying. But I'm giving an argument for it. The minimum value of our vote is as much as 3,300,000. When you times the minimum wage times 48, that's what you get. So if you are going to sell your vote, if you are not going to get, nobody will pay you that much for your vote. It means that they know that, first of all, they know that your vote is important. Because if, for example, there's an election and nobody comes out to vote, even if INEC is there, the electoral umpire, right. Even if the police are there, even the observers are there, even if the media is there, as long as the electorate, the voters don't come out, there's no election.
Absolutely.
That's how valuable the voter is in the electoral process.
Absolutely. We need to leave the conversation already here, gentlemen. I must thank you so much. But just as one of the PDP chieftain did say that the 2027 election is going to be between Nigerians, that is you watching now, and of course the APC. And honestly, I cannot wait to see how 2027 is going to turn out, God willing. But I really must thank you so much, gentlemen. Ibrahim Momo, thank you for being in the studio today. Neville Obakedo, thank you so much for coming on board. And also Emmanuel Owakodo, legal practitioner, thanks for your time this morning. Now that's our offering right here in our Benin Network studio.